Press and the Down Beach Current were notified of this meeting. A copy of same was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and on the municipal website. When the meeting will come to order, would you please stand for the flag salute? Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tom, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Becker?
Here.
Ms. Dalby?
Here.
You have before you the minutes of our October 17th meetings. What is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion that we approve them.
I second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Dalby?
Yes.
We are now public comment. You may come and you have 3 minutes to speak on anything you'd like to speak about.
Sewell, 22 West Drive. Mayor, with that supermajority yesterday that renounced, rebuked, and repudiated your cohort, co-defendant, and co-conspirators' half-baked, dim-witted notions concerning the dunes, I would ask that this commission immediately begin to explore the alternatives of either an enhanced bulkhead or a master jetty at the end of Longport. Moving on to another topic, Mayor, as I reminded you, you took a solemn, sworn oath, not once, but twice, to uphold the New Jersey State Constitution. This Constitution is not like Pelosi's Obamacare, where you pass it and find out what's in it. But what's in the New Jersey Constitution has been there for well over 100 years, perhaps 130 or 40 years. And it mandates and dictates a thorough and efficient education, which unfortunately neither the taxpayers nor the students in Margate are getting. You have to uphold your oath, Mayor, and stop appointing people to the school board who will not and cannot abide by the New Jersey State Constitution's mandate of a thorough and efficient education. You buttonholed Dr. Dennis Kelly to confirm precisely what I had told you before, that this year, this very year, Ross could have been closed and K-3 could have easily been absorbed. In fact, according to Dr. Kelly, that is a possibility to even have K-8 absorbed in the near future due to sharply declining enrollments both in Ventnor and Margate. So I advise you and the commissioners to begin to pressure the school board to abide by the New Jersey State Constitution that mandates thorough and efficient education. Taxpayers should not have to continue to fund this white elephant. There is no need for the Ross School. It's a redundancy, and it should be closed ASAP. It could have been done back in September, but you refused to do it. You refused to appoint fiscally responsible members to the board, and as a result, we're saddled with a no-go from the get-go when it's talked about shared services. Mayor, every Republican governor has demanded shared services. We have 616 school districts, more than Maryland, Delaware, and Pennsylvania combined. And take it from me, Mayor, Pennsylvania is a far bigger state than New Jersey. We have no need for the duplication of school districts. It's time to pressure the school board, and it's time for you to live up to your sworn oath. Mayor, you had an option.
15 seconds, John.
You had an option, Mayor. If you couldn't keep your sworn oath, you could have asked the judge to merely affirm. You didn't do that, Mayor. You opted for a solemn oath. You can avoid and escape your campaign pledges, but you can't escape your sworn oath. And I call upon you to stop violating your oath. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, John. Dan, can you give me like 20 seconds? I'm going to do something that I normally say I don't do. Ms. Sewell, within the last week, I had a conversation with the good Dr. Kelly, who denies ever having said any of the things you say. So, like I told you the last time, if you want to speak for somebody, have that someone here. Okay? I did. And he said he never told you any of the things that you just spoke about. So, Dan, thank you.
I don't speak extemporaneously quite as well as Mr. Sewell, so permit me to read what I've prepared.
Fred, can you raise that for Dan so he can you raise the mic for?
How about if I hand hold it?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, good afternoon. On behalf of Margate citizens questioning the beach project, I'd first like to extend my thanks to all the voters of Margate for the great turnout on Tuesday. It speaks clearly to just how important this issue was to the people who live in Margate. I'd also like to commend Mr. Hiltner and his team who oversaw our election process in Margate on what appeared to be a very busy day. I'd like to thank Maury and Brenda for their post-election congratulations and acknowledgement of our comprehensive education efforts. It was our hope to receive a single response to our questions from the Commission to avoid presenting conflicting information to the public. I'd like to thank Maury for providing clear, candid responses in the time frame that permitted us to share the information with the voters. And while we did not receive Brenda's responses in time to review and share at our last public meeting, we do acknowledge her for responding. We widely disseminated her answers to our respective email contacts, and we put them on our website. I'd also like to thank the mayor and the commissioners for encouraging MCQBP to study and learn about the project and be a resource to Margate voters. We spent countless hours looking at contracts, running projections, and striving for accuracy. As we learned more, we became more and more opposed to the project. As we began to share what we learned with our friends and neighbors, we learned that they shared our same concerns. If you think it would be helpful, we would be happy to sit down with the Commission or any department heads to review our research and the methodology behind our cost calculations. Perhaps the data could be used to deploy the city's resources in a manner that is more effective than the Army Corps DEP project. You're all good leaders, and the city needs you now. We, all 1,500 of us, have full faith that you will now do what you were elected to do, carry out the will of your constituents who overwhelmingly said no to the project. It is incumbent upon you to take the necessary action to represent the vast majority of voters who said no. The project is scheduled to begin in Margate in April. It is no longer enough for the Commission to sit back and not join the project. It now requires decisive action to not join the project. We cannot wait for the state to dictate to us. That is not what our citizens expect from their leadership. A proactive approach is essential at this juncture. I am urging the Commission to send a letter to the Army Corps and the DEP informing them of the outcome of the election with a request to have Margate taken off the schedule. Maybe suggest to them that we are interested in fortifying our bulkheads and our pumping system, and that we as a city want to work together to find a solution that fits Margate. I may be one of the founding members of MCQBP, but I came here today as one of the 1,500 people who voted no to the referendum. I don't need to tell anyone in this room that Margate is a unique community. We are like a family. Mayor Becker said that to me the other day. Sometimes we don't all agree, but when we require the leadership of this family to stand up and carry out the family's mandate, the leader of the family must do that. Mayor Becker, you have been quoted as saying that the result of this ballot question would determine your response to the state, and I emphasize the word response. And we take you for your word. And with all due respect to you, and knowing how the media can often take things out of context, you were also quoted in Wednesday's Atlantic City Press as saying, quote, "Now we'll just have to sit back and wait and see what the state does." You asked for direction. You've been given direction from 1,500 people. Not from me, not from Sharon, Glenn, or Vaughn, but 1,500 people. Please take the lead for us, Mayor, and actively defend the Margate family that we all love. Take action, please. Send a letter to the state and tell them to take us off the schedule. I'm asking you to put that on the schedule, put it in process, have the solicitor prepare the letter for discussion at the next meeting. Is that a reasonable request?
We'll consider that, Dan. That wasn't my position the other day.
I'm sorry?
That wasn't my position before,
What wasn't your
to
position?
write a letter.
Okay.
I really believe, I understand.
But that's why I was speaking to a
I
proactive
understand
approach.
exactly what you're saying.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jane McGrogan, 22 North Hanover Avenue. I wanted to thank the committee, the Margate Citizens Questioning the Beach Project, for all the hard work they did. And I'm also hoping, like Mr. Gottlieb said, that you'll take a proactive approach with the state regarding the dunes. And also, I think that the idea of reinforcing the bulkheads is probably the best way to go, and if you would pursue that approach, that would be a great idea. And another thing is the pumping station in Ventnor on the Gardens Plaza. What is the situation with that? I mean, would that alleviate a lot of the flooding on Winchester Avenue?
It would certainly alleviate a lot of it. It is in the planning stage. They're doing some concrete borings to see if the existing concrete can be saved. And as soon as that moves a little bit further along, we'll get back and report to you about it.
All right, is it an issue of money, or?
I'm sure it is. It's going to be a lot of money. We're hoping to get a grant, maybe.
For all the money that they had talked about spending on the dunes, that would be a drop in the bucket for, and would alleviate a lot of problems.
Two separate pots.
No, I know
Two
that.
separate pots.
I know that. But I mean, it can't be that much of an expense. I mean, I think it's important because it seems like it's gotten worse over the years.
Agreed, and we're working on that.
All right, well, thank you for your consideration.
You're welcome.
Sharon Simon, 424 North Thurwell Avenue. With regard to the comment earlier in the meeting, the other meeting about the building department, if you just do the math, it's common sense. The number of building permits and the amount of building going on, it's clear that there's much, our building department is tremendously busy, and we do have less people. I find it really disheartening that what you focused on from that comment was that no contractor came to the hardware store to talk with you, which I know for a fact that's not true. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that we need some extra help in the building department. We certainly can afford it. Building has kept this city going, and I would just think it's your department, your people, Margate's your people. I think you'd encourage that. Much has changed over the last few months regarding the beach project. What started out a few months ago as a simple process of holding a non-binding referendum to direct the commission to join or not join the project based on the outcome of the election now requires additional measures by the commission to validate the vote. Given the fact Margate was placed on the schedule for the project to begin, it is no longer enough for the commission to simply not join the project, but requires action as Dan Gottlieb has said. Anything less would indicate to the voters that the election was a sham, and the commission had no intention of honoring the citizens' vote. What I'd like to talk about now is FEMA maps. When they came out, they were not in the best interest of Margate City. They didn't support the science. And we were lucky enough for Solicitor Abbott and I guess Jimmy Galantino and Ed Wahlberg and you went to bat for Margate, invested time, money, sat down with FEMA, negotiated with them, and as a result, we got remapping that reflected what should happen in Margate, rather than some general or one-size solution or whatever. We have the expertise. We have the intelligence. We invested that money for that project, and whatever we need to invest for this should be done as well. The voters not only expect this from the commission, but have every confidence that this can be successful. If, Mayor, you choose to sit back and do nothing, you are opening our beaches for the Army Corps and the DEP to come in. We all know that. So to do nothing is not an option here. If you are truly invested in Margate and its voters, there are several steps to be taken. And I hope that on the next meeting, when Commissioner Blumberg is here, and Mr. Abbott, and Mr. Wilberg, and Jimmy Galatino at the work session, that this will be thoroughly discussed. It's important. It's Margate. And we voted. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simon.
Ann Pancoast, 200 North Osborne Avenue. I would just like to know, sometimes you read in the paper statements that are made, and then somebody says, well, you know, make that statement. So I would like to hear it from you, Mayor. You're behind the people that voted no.
Absolutely, 100%.
What's the first step from that referendum? What occurs next?
There really is no next step until we hear from the governor, I guess.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? There's really nothing that this commission really has to do. Whether we become proactive or not, we can discuss that at the next meeting. But I can assure you that the governor has heard that Margate turned down the Dunes project, which means basically that we're out of it. And we'll see what happens. I'm not in favor at this point of spending a lot of money to get our attorneys to investigate this. There's no reason to do that until something else happens.
Well, it had said in the paper that there would have to be another referendum. Is that true? It would have to be a binding referendum? And the people would have to vote again? Is that?
The way the situation is right now, probably.
Okay. Now, my other question is...
I would hope not, but it probably would.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
My other question is, what do we do about Executive Order 140? I read that today online, and I was very interested in reading the last paragraph, page 4. And that seems to make it very clear what that executive order stands for. What do you feel about that?
There are obviously difference of opinion of a lot of people on Executive Order 140. If we get to that point, we're going to have to either hire outside counsel to give us an opinion. To be honest, Ann, I guess you could hire different attorneys and get different opinions. But that's something that we will, down the road, have to do, I would imagine.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Bad back, so let me hand you some things before I start. Do you need a chair? No, I'm fine. Might not get back up again, Mayor.
Rule 6 North Mansfield. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner Tauby, for giving me an opportunity to speak. What we wanted to do in the spirit of Mr. Gottlieb's comments was start sharing with the city some of the data that we were looking at. which we really think drove the 65% no vote. What I just gave the mayor and the commissioner was a copy of Ventnor's 2013 contract. And you'll see on page 5, I believe it's paragraph 10, that their contract, just for their renourishment, said it was going to cost $7 million. And you'll see the note that we gave to all of the people that we gave this to. It says that their cost normally, without the Federal Storm Relief Act, would have been $612,000, but that was forgiven for this one time. So that's the basis of our analysis. And then what we did is we gave you a spreadsheet, Mayor and Commissioner, and the spreadsheet simply takes that $612,000, skips the first fill because it's free, and then adds 1.5% per year. And in every third year, we add up the fills. And over a 50-year period, because the project never ends, even though the contract ends after 40 years, over 50 years, you're seeing you spend $14 million at 1.5% and close to $20 million at 2.5%. Now, the other thing that I'm going to give you right now, I might have not given it to you yet, was Avalon's actual schedule. And what you'll see in Avalon's actual schedule is that they've been on this project for quite some time. I believe since, I need a copy of that. Thank you. Just give me one. Since 1987. And they actually have to do some type of renourishment every year. Not every third year, every year. And if you look, they're averaging, close to the same exact amount that we're talking about. But with that said, we also looked at Ventnor's cost since 2004. They did the initial placement in 2004. It was at $525,000. In 2005, they bulldozed most of that because of cliffs caused by severe erosion during a mild year. Then they hit a trigger point in 2007 where they needed to refill, but there was no federal money appropriated. Then they did a fill in 2011 and 2012 at $585,000, and they're doing one right now, which would normally cost $612,000 as stated, but it's not being built. So you can see they're filling on average every 3 years at a tune of close to $600,000. So the data that we have is accurate. And the only question I'd have here on the data is, who in Margate ran your numbers? Where did you guys get your cost estimates?
What numbers? Which ones are you talking about?
I heard some comments that some folks thought our numbers weren't accurate, so I thought maybe you guys had run numbers. You sent us to the polls to vote on this. And Commissioner Tobby was a proponent. We assumed you ran some numbers. No? Okay. What I would ask you then is I'm also going to give you, I'll leave it behind, it's an article from the senator from Maryland who talks about how federal funding is simply an earmark in the federal budget. That's why Ventnor couldn't get it in 2007. I'll leave that piece with you. Finally, I'll leave a piece with you that quotes the captain of the Ventnor Beach Patrol saying that the beaches are much more dangerous post the refill due to the slope, and that a team came up from, I think it was North Carolina, to teach Ocean City's lifeguards how to deal with the change in slope. And then finally, I will recommend this, Mayor. 65% in politics is a landslide. I think you know that. I'm asking you flat out, please send a letter to the Army Corps saying, pull this off your schedule. There are significant legal questions surrounding their ability, the state's ability to mandate us into a 40-year unfunded contract, or to make us violate a standing ordinance that was passed by referendum that falls within the state's constitution. And like you said, we may have to lawyer up at some point in time. We hope the city will lawyer up as well, because 65% of your population said they don't want it, and the $630,000 that you should be spending on average every third year, as Ms. McGrogan said, might be better off spent rebuilding, reinforcing our boardwalks, and we actually have 3 spots, I believe, in the city where we can put in pumps to help alleviate our flooding. So thank you very, very much for your time, and I will leave these other documents for you.
Thank you, Gordon. Anyone else?
Hi,
Good evening. Lisa Gottlieb, 407 North Nassau. I'm kind of a cut-to-the-chase kind of a person. I don't do this kind of thing often or ever. I just want to say that 1,500 people are not troublemakers or people that want to make you lose sleep at night. We're all in this together. We are a family. We are a unique community. We're asking that you lead our family. When you came to my door for votes some years back, I didn't think that one little letter would be too much to ask. So please, just for us, be proactive, write a letter, let's cross the bridge when we come to it about anything protracted, any kind of lawsuits and lawyering up. Let's not jump the gun. Let's just proactively take your citizens' vote, write a letter, and just move it from there and see what happens. Thank you.
You did good, Lisa.
Huh?
You did good.
Oh, thanks.
Anyone else?
Steve Warner, 103 North Sumner. I've lived here my whole life, 64 years, and I would say nobody likes the beach or loves the beach any more than me, okay? And I don't want anything to happen to the beach either. But in this referendum, it's great. You know, but this is like the local level here, what 2,200 people went to the polls, and that's great. But, you know, we live in a big state, was it 6, 7 million, 8 million people? Frankly, I'm interested in what some of the local level is great, but what about, like, say, the county level? What do the politicians in the county think about this? What do, like, the state representatives think about this? Or State Senator Whalen, he hasn't weighed in. What are his opinions? He just got reelected. What does he think about the dunes? I would like to hear about some of these other elected officials other than just the city. Do you have any knowledge about that, Mayor?
I've never spoken to anyone of the other politicians at all. I have not.
No. I think really this is something that they should weigh in on.
Mrs. Tarby has something.
Yes.
When the executive order was initially released by the governor's office, I contacted Amadeo and Brown's office to see, you know, what their public comment might be, and they didn't get back to me, and I left a message for Whalen, and I did hear back from Whalen. He said he supports the governor's executive order.
He supports the governor. Well, I think that Assemblyman Brown and Amadeo, I mean, Mr. Amadeo lives in Margate. I think he should weigh in on this, and I think Mr. Brown should also. What is their position? And also, what about Mr. Lobiondo? What's Mr. Lobiondo's position on the dunes?
Steve, it's a local issue. It went to referendum. The people spoke.
Right. Yeah, I'm familiar with what happened. I mean, look, I'm aware of what happened. That's great. I mean, you know, that's great. Like I said, I love the beach too. But this is, you know, Margate is not the center of the universe, although, I mean, a lot of people think it is. It's, nobody likes Margate more than me. I really don't think that anybody does. But again, this is Margate. This is not Washington, D.C. And I'm sure that it is. I'm sure that it is. And that's great. And however, you know, there's like some realities other than 1,500 people voting that they don't want the dunes, all right, which I think we're going to have to confront pretty soon, all right? And my only take on this is I don't want the city spending any money on lawyers, wasting legal fees. I don't care about replenishment and this and that, all the rest of it. That's wonderful, your spreadsheet, that's great. I don't want any money spent, any tax money spent on this, okay? Now, if you guys want to get your own lawyer or get somebody to go pro bono or what have you, or take up a collection, that's fine, you know, and but I don't want any tax money spent. That's all.
Thank you, Steve. Last chance. Anyone else?
Fred Weinstein, 15 South Cedar Grove Avenue in Margate. Margate is the center of my family's universe. We love this town. And I know that for everyone in this room, I think we feel the same way.
Agreed.
I respect the prior speaker. However, at a meeting a few weeks ago, I heard some of the most despicable comments from that speaker that I've ever heard in a public meeting. And I didn't intend to address that this evening, even though I have addressed it privately with some folks. And the right of free speech is not unlimited. You cannot yell fire in a crowded theater. And the comments of the prior speaker a couple of weeks ago, referendums and elections are meaningless. I beg to differ. It means a lot to people.
Repeat the facts. Repeat the facts.
All right.
I urge everyone to listen to the recording of that meeting.
Be respectful, everybody.
I urge everyone to listen to the recording of that meeting and make their own determination if my characterization of those comments are accurate or inaccurate. And to suggest in any way that referendums and elections are meaningless, it reflects a truly misguided view of our country and our community. And I congratulate Commissioner Blumberg at the last meeting for taking that speaker to task, and Mayor Becker for urging everyone to vote in this referendum. And I know if Commissioner Tauby was here at that meeting, she would have done the same. I found those comments despicable. I found them to be discouraging and terribly hypocritical. And I didn't intend to address that tonight, but I thought I heard everything at the last meeting. But this speaker's comments just a few seconds ago, I could not ignore. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Weinstein. Anyone else?
We said non-binding. Did you hear him?
Glenn Klotz, 118 North Barclay Avenue, Margate. I didn't intend to speak tonight, but I'd like to address a couple questions here that have been brought up. First of all, Mayor, we're not asking the city at this point, okay? There's been some talk here about lawyers. I don't think we're anywhere at that juncture yet. What our committee has been asking, though, I think is very reasonable, that the city take a little more of a proactive stance now that we have done what you asked us to do. You tasked us here several months ago to direct you, all of us. That's been done, okay? The people have spoken. Now, some of us believe that that should be a little, there should be a little more action here in that the state, like you're saying that the governor, we have to wait for the governor. Well, the governor's already spoken, sir. He's spoken through his directive, which I'll address in a moment, and he's also spoken through the DEP and through the Army by putting us on a schedule. And we simply are saying that we feel that is wrong, that the city should direct the state that we've had this vote. We'd like to be taken off any schedule because there's issues involved here, maybe with the law, okay, but we're not there yet with the law, okay? Now, I'd like to talk a little bit to the law. I'm not a lawyer, but I read that directive, and I've spoken to lawyers. And I would just like to say this about the directive. It's about easements. It's about property. It doesn't say anything in that directive that we are going to be forced, or anybody's going to be forced to join anything. It simply says that the governor is going to make it easier for the state to grab easements where easements have to be taken if a project is going to go forward. Okay? I personally never thought that was really much of an issue. I think everybody in this room knows that the city or the state can condemn property and take it. In this case, the beach is a public park. I don't think that was ever a question. I don't think that directive says anywhere, but maybe we'll have to go to the courts to have this settled. I hope not. I don't think it directs us that we have to join. That's the way I believe.
Your interpretation of the Executive Order 140 is absolutely correct, Glenn.
Okay, so going with that, I don't think there's anything really even very proactive. It's simply asking the courtesy of the state to remove us from a schedule, and I want to say why. There's more, and I'd like to talk to everybody here, because I don't know if everybody knows the history of this project, but I do. I've been fighting it for 14 years, and I know.
Okay, Glenn, in fairness to all the other people, I'll give you another 15, 20 seconds.
Okay, fine. There's a lot of ways to join this project, and one of them is passively, to do nothing. In Ventnor, they had an election. Okay, it wasn't about the project. They rescinded our ordinance, then they never joined, and they never paid. They simply allowed the Army to come in and do the project, and then Mayor Kelly had to join and had to pay 8 years later. I don't think Margate would ever do something like that. But it happened. Now there's a proactive way to join, the way Mayor Russo did. Fine. Nothing wrong with that. And the way Mayor Whalen did, or whoever was there, it was Mayor Whalen. Okay, but I would hope that Margate will take that kind of path and not the path that Ventnor went. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Close public comment?
Sure, go ahead. All right. Can we close public comment? And then, okay. Is there a motion to close public comment?
I'll make a motion that we close public comment.
Second. Mr. Becker? Yes. Ms. Taube?
Yes.
Taube? Mr. Staple?
Okay. As most everybody in this room knows, I supported this project. I supported it because of everything that I've learned post-Sandy. And I frankly still believe that Margate's safer from natural disasters with a barrier of nourishment and sand dunes. However, with this said, I hear the 65% of our voters out there who don't want this project. I was elected to serve and represent the people, and that's what I'm going to do. This is a major time in our history. 1 year ago, we had the worst natural disaster in our history. And now we're talking about changing the landscape of the beach as we all know and love it. From where we go from here, I'm not sure because of the executive order. I read it differently than the mayor does. And I guess, you know, as the mayor said earlier, I guess lawyers can read the same thing and get a different outcome. And I don't know that our taxpayers want to foot a costly legal bill with the governor. I'm not sure what the proactive solution is here, but I do want to meet with our team, our commissioner, and solicitor to further discuss what we can do.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on resolutions? I'm trying for 6 o'clock.
Sewell, 22 West Drive. Mayor, your undivided attention and focus on resolution number 221. This should be more specific and more precise because there is an enormous difference going amicus curiae as opposed to going as a party plaintiff petitioner. And you can contain your costs with an amicus curiae far better than you can with an open-ended party plaintiff action. Besides, Margate may not even have standing to sue per se, because these are individuals who are harmed, and the harm to a municipal corporation is quite distinct and different. And therefore, we might go down the party plaintiff route and find ourselves thrown out anyway. Whereas in the far less expensive amicus curia route, we will have our input and not be ejected from the suit. So I would, once again, in the spirit of containing cost, as you so promised so many times, let us go amicus curia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sewell. Anyone else?
Number 221, instructing the solicitor to file a motion to intervene in the appellate court case of Levitt and the Outdoor Media LLC, the billboard on the Margate Causeway. I just want to comment, here we are spending Margate's money on an issue that really doesn't impact Margate nearly as much as some of the other things we've discussed tonight. And all this of wasting money in courts and everything. If we're going to spend money on something like this, we spend a lot of money on FEMA remapping. We got a tremendous amount of legal bills on legal cases that involve issues that should not even be paid for by the Margate Commission. Whistleblower, comments constantly made in commission meetings that increase the settlement. So use the money to invest in Margate and its citizens. And not, I have no problem in participating in this, but let's be real about wasting money. And as far as attorneys, I haven't heard one attorney interpret the executive order differently. There's a difference between a layperson interpreting it and a lawyer, and Solicitor Abbott already spoke to that in a meeting and said it has to do with eminent domain. So it's not that we necessarily have to go to court. If the attorneys can't agree, then yes, a judge will make that decision. But it's not your opinion, Mayor, or Commissioner Tarbey's, or even mine, although I'd like it to be. Thank you.
Fred Weinstein, 15 South Cedar Grove Avenue, Margate. Ray 221, did Steve Hankin or Mr. Levitt ask us the proper term is not to intervene, but to file an amicus brief supporting Mr. Levitt's position? Have either of them asked Margate to file an amicus brief?
Mr. Hankin did.
Mr. Hankin has asked Margate to intervene. I don't know the technical part. Yeah. Mr. Abbott is not here today.
But the plaintiff in that action or his attorney asked Margate to intervene, to support, not intervene, to file an amicus brief.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I know, Fred. I think, Fred, the wording may have been on the agenda, may have been a little bit off.
But
I know what you're saying.
You basically file a brief supporting one of the parties in the case. In this case, we're being asked by Hankin and or Levitt to file a written brief supporting the Levitt position.
That's totally my understanding from speaking with Mr. Abbott. Totally my understanding from speaking with Mr. Abbott, and it will be of a limited nature.
Yes.
Just to get our name in there as another municipality.
Given that Mr. Levitt's attorney and he individually asked, I think we should give it some serious consideration on whether or not to do this. I think everyone in this room is opposed to that billboard, and if our filing a brief, which is not a particularly costly undertaking, we should move forward with that. We're helping a citizen where we have a mutual interest in that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there a motion to close public comment?
I move to close public comment on resolutions.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
Mr. Hiltner?
First reading of ordinance 2013-22, authorizing the private sale of a portion of property at Block 19, Lot 9. This has been discussed numerous times at the meetings in the past month or so. So the second reading and public hearing will be on November 21st at 5 p.m.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
211, authorize the payment of claims and payroll.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
212, rescinds previously adopted resolution 200 on a tax lien.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
213, authorize the tax lien redemption for Block 61301, Lot 30.
Make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
214, authorize tax lien redemption for Block 3.02, Lot 10.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
215, approves all raffle license issued by the city for the year 2013.
Make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes. 216,
authorizes plans and specifications for the beach bulkhead repairs and the Sumner Avenue bulkhead replacement.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
217, designates Jim Galantino as CRS coordinator for Margate.
Make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
218, authorizes interlocal agreement with the ACIA for a grant program for CDBG for ADA beach access.
Make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
219, authorizes transfers in the 2013 budget.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
220, awards a professional services contract for planning consultant for New Jersey DCA Post-Sandy Planning Assistance Plan. This was discussed at the work meeting earlier.
I will make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
221, instructs the solicitor to file a motion at the appellate court in the case of Levitt versus NJDEP.
Make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
222, authorizes change order number 1 for the 2012 road program, the asphalt paving, for the amount of $5,450.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
And 223, authorizes change order number 3 for final payment for beach bulkhead stair replacement to S&M and an increase of $1,850.
Make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
That's all we have.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I make the motion that we adjourn.
I second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Ms. Taube?
Yes.
We did.